This will be part 2 of a 3-part analysis of Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. I only wanted to do 2 parts, but I talked too much, so let's get into it. The head kicks and the body kicks. Here he's gonna land the head kick. The head kicks and the body kicks from Dricus were what I would consider to be the most consistently landing and damaging shots. At the very least, next to the straight punches, is either one of those two. At the very least, they were accruing damage and gaining points, but at the most, the body kicks were taking away stamina, and the head kicks were throwing off Sean's defense. One thing Sean could have improved on was capitalizing on opportunities where Dricus overextends, like what he's finna do right here. He's gonna recover, and then he's gonna look like that, and we'll talk about his technique in part 3. But right there, he's a horrible position back turn, and Sean was so preoccupied with defense and escaping that he let up on his offense, which led to this fight being as close as it was. Again, we'll talk more about that in part 3. So like we said earlier, Sean's defense is reliant on his arms kind of like being in position to catch, turn, block, and just being a blockade for any sort of offense. But that means when his arms are extended like that, it's not really any offensive option, so he's not really countering a lot. And even when he does counter, you get stuff like that where it looked like he tried to stab him with an invisible knife or slap him in the face. So he couldn't really counter Dricus for coming in hands down, head first. Like Dricus was coming in like yeah, it's crazy. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of that kicking game. I think those body kicks, some of them not landing super clean, some of them landed more clean. I think those were a big reason, those and the takedowns were a big reason for draining Sean's stamina. Here's an example of what Sean would have to do to get more offensive success. On his back foot, he'd have to stop playing. So Dricus is entering in. Sean, he gets caught, and that's part of the danger of the game plan I'm talking about. But you have to stop, plant, and when Dricus is in those bad positions, he sideways to him, he doing ballerina spins and all that. When he's in those bad positions, Sean has to do something like this. He'll have to step in, take that risk, and do some damage. Sometimes it's necessary to get in those risky exchanges to separate yourself in terms of damage. And Sean actually had a lot of success when he was the one initiating. Steps forward with a cross, gets underneath the overhand, and then lands his own left overhand. So when he was in these exchanges, he uses defense that we know, but his defense is more mid-range now, so he's getting his head off the center line, and he was successfully countering and successfully winning some of those exchanges. And I think either his corner told him, or Sean kind of realized himself that he needs to stay in the pocket more and be more aggressive. But don't let me distract from the fact that, yeah, Dricus was very successful at times, especially when he was getting the best of these exchanges using his straight punches. Those overhands, were they there? No, not really, but he was landing a lot of stuff with his right hand. Either it was a jab or the cross, and they were big shots. And then this is a great moment from Dricus because he jumps in the range, arms extended, looking to manipulate the guard of Sean. And of course, Sean's doing what he normally does. He's putting out one of his arms to try and blockade any offense. But Dricus doesn't throw immediately. When he's jumping in the range, there's a delay. And through that delay, he finds the opening and lands a good shot. Dricus was landing some powerful shots. Then it's another example of a similar situation. He's in southpaw. He pulls down the left arm of Sean. He tries to step in with the left cross, and then he shifts into orthodox, jab blinding. First of all, Sean's already probably a little bit blind because of the blood in his eye, but the jab doesn't help. Blinds division, cross over top. Dricus was successful when he was working behind straight punches. This is an example of what I was talking about earlier, the takedown. Normally when Dricus was level changing, it would be an overhand, but I was talking about Dricus's key being unpredictability and chaos. At any moment, something you don't know or expect can happen. In this case, Sean is probably expecting an overhand. He gets taken down, and so that's adding to the unpredictability, but it's also adding to further draining Sean's stamina. Look at how Sean comes out in the 5th round. It looks like he's doing his normal guard, but instead, watch what happens. He switches to the high guard. And that should let you know psychologically he's more focused on offense, and he's going to stand in front of Dricus, and he's going to be more aggressive. And that's what he does, because he immediately whips out a jab that snaps Dricus's head back. And in this round, he did stand in front of Dricus a lot more and try to punish him. In those first 30 seconds, he's landing a lot of hard jabs. He missed a few, but he was landing a lot of hard jabs. And now he's touching that guard, he's probing, he's feinting. But most importantly, look at the change in pressure. Who's coming forward and who's backing up? That was a big decider in the success of this fight. When Dricus du Plessis was coming forward, he was giving Sean a lot of issues. But now Sean is coming out, working behind the jab, and he's dictating the flow of the fight. One of the easiest things to do is look at somebody's technique and equate it with their IQ, but I think Dricus is actually an underrated type of clever. And here's what I mean. As much as Dricus sometimes has a technique of an angry 5-year-old, he's very crafty. This instance right here is an example of where he fakes a takedown. Sean is obviously going to try and change levels to get there, but Dricus tries to hit him with a little bit of a left hand. He misses, but then he tries to launch the uppercut. That's some tricky, crafty stuff, and that's showing a great fight IQ. And I was talking about Dricus's technique, but we saw Sean earlier. He looked like he's slapping people in the face like he in a power slap competition. But either way, their technique is problematic too, but they both have IQs and they're both dogs, and they both put on great performances in this fight. And Dricus found a lot of success when he was in southpaw, throwing that jab. His southpaw jab is pretty crazy because he is sneaky, and that's how he rocked Robert Whitaker, right? And that led to the TKO. And Sean was eating a couple of those, and those were heavy. Let me know your thoughts on the result, and then let me know what's next for both men. Should it be a rematch, or should they move on? And if they move on, who should both of them fight? That is all Fights and Science Immortality serum out. This might only be one part 2. I don't know, depending on how long it is.